All right, let's dive into one of nature's most beautiful and most brutal survival machines, the carnivorous sundew. This is a plant that has absolutely mastered the art of the hunt. So when you first look at one, you see these shimmering little droplets. They look so perfect, so pure, right? But that beauty is a complete illusion, a carefully crafted trap. See, that isn't water, it's a weapon. And for any small insect that touches it, it's probably the last mistake it'll ever make. And that's really the big question we're digging into here. It's an incredible story of evolution, of desperation, and just brilliant, deadly design. How on earth did something that's literally rooted in the ground manage to turn the tables on the animal kingdom? To really understand the hunter, we've got to first understand its disguise.
So, let me introduce you to the genus Drosera, what we all call the Sundews. I mean, they look like they've been pulled straight out of a fairy tale, just sparkling in the sun. But that sparkle, it's not for show. It is a fatal attraction that defines their entire existence as meat eaters.
So what happens when that beautiful disguise actually works? Let's break down the mechanics of this silent, incredibly patient assassin. The secret ingredient is this stuff called mucilage, and it's a genius-level deception. This goo smells sweet, kind of like nectar, which draws an insect right in. But the second that insect makes contact, the goo's real purpose becomes terrifyingly clear. It's an insanely powerful glue. And this kicks off the hunt, which plays out in 4 pretty methodical steps. First, there's the lure. Then, the trap is sprung the instant the bug touches down. Now, the insect's struggle is actually the trigger for step 3. All the nearby tentacles start to curl inwards, smothering it. And finally, the plant releases digestive enzymes and turns its prey into a nutrient soup. It's a very active, very deliberate process. And what's really horrifying is just how different the timing is for each stage. The trap itself, instantaneous. It happens in seconds. The tentacles curling in to secure the prey, that takes a few minutes. But the digestion, that is a slow, inescapable process that can go on for days, even weeks. But for the victim, the whole nightmare is actually over pretty quickly. Once it's trapped in that sticky goo, it can't breathe, and most insects die from either suffocation or just sheer exhaustion in about 15 minutes. They die long before the plant even really starts its meal. You know, this all seems incredibly elaborate for a plant. So you have to wonder, what could have possibly driven this wild evolutionary jump into becoming a carnivore? Well, the answer isn't in the plant, it's in the ground underneath it. See, sundews don't grow in nice, rich, fertile soil. They thrive in places like bogs and marshes, and the soil there is awful. It has almost none of the essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus that plants need to survive. So they had to find another source. And this is the key thing to understand. Sundews don't eat for energy. They still get all their energy from the sun with photosynthesis, just like any other plant. They eat for nutrients. Insects are basically their vitamin supplements, giving them the raw building blocks that the soil just doesn't have. This isn't about greed, it's purely about survival. This adaptation was so bizarre and so brilliant that it completely captivated Charles Darwin. He ran countless experiments on them, and at one point, he even said he cared more about sundews than about the origin of all the species in the world. That just gives you a sense of how revolutionary this strategy really is. And you can totally see why Darwin was so obsessed when you realize this isn't just one type of plant. It's an entire global family of these sticky predators. Get this, there are at least 194 different species of sundew, and they have colonized almost every continent on Earth, adapting their deadly strategy to all kinds of habitats, from the tropics all the way to the subarctic. And the diversity is just incredible. You have the Cape sundews, for example, whose leaves fold completely over their prey like a fist. Then you have the tiny pygmy sundews that can be smaller than a penny. Every single species has its own unique twist on the same deadly blueprint. The adaptations are just wild. Some have evolved to climb like vines, reaching up several feet tall. And then you have the king sundew in South Africa, this rare giant with leaves that can grow over a foot long, capable of trapping much, much larger prey. So they're diverse, they're deadly, and they've been around forever. But what's really surprising is that our own story is actually pretty intertwined with these strange plants. Yeah, believe it or not, we've been using sundews for centuries. If you look at old historical text, you'll see them being used in cough syrups as early as the 12th century. They even earn the nickname lustwort because people thought they worked as an aphrodisiac. And they've also been used to make dyes and even certain liqueurs. But maybe the most fascinating connection is an ecological one. There are certain types of assassin bugs that have actually evolved to live on Sundew plants. They figured out how to walk all over the deadly tentacles without getting stuck, and they make a living by stealing the plant's trapped meals right off its leaves. It's a thief living inside a trap. Which really leaves us with this final thought. The Sundew is a perfect example of evolution's incredible, almost unbelievable creativity. It took a massive weakness, that terrible soil, and turned it into a predatory strength. It forces you to wonder, if something as seemingly passive as a plant can become a hunter, what other unbelievable stories are unfolding all around us, just waiting for us to notice?